All right, Joe, when you look at an agent's actual week, the appointments, the paperworks, the follow-ups, what work should AI be taking off their plate?
An agent needs to look at everything that you just mentioned that you're doing and see what are those tasks that really cause you a lot of friction and just cause you a lot of frustration. And then ask yourself, is this something an AI tool could help me with?
Hmm.
So I wouldn't talk necessarily about any of your client data, anything that involves any personal information. But when you're looking at the whole process of what you do in a day, where are those points where you're like, man, if I just had somebody to help me with this, it would make my life so much easier? That's usually where a AI tool can come in and help you with that. A lot of the times for salespeople, they're really good at selling. They're great at selling. Marketing is like a second thought for them
Right.
because they have a job to do, and their job isn't to be creating content all day long. Their job is to be talking to people. So that's where you see a lot of agents take advantage of the different AI tools for their content creation and coming up with ideas and breaking down and making it simpler for them to create a marketing strategy and deploy those marketing tactics.
Yeah, there are many use cases, and we're going to dive into many of them today. But one call out I want to make, and this is according to HubSpot's State of Marketing report they do every year. About a third of teams that are using AI are reporting that it's saving them up to 20 hours a week, if not sometimes more. And so that's a couple of days shaved off that you can now dedicate to, your clients or any other work that you have been putting off. And so let's dive into it today, Joe, and talk about what use case do you think is being underutilized the most by our audience?
I don't know if you can say it's being underutilized. They just haven't discovered it yet.
Ah.
And I think it's different for everybody. So there's some people out there where they rely 100% on referrals and they're not comfortable
Hmm.
digitally and they're not comfortable online, but AI can still help them with that referrals and maybe even it's setting up emails or setting up communications with them. So I don't think there's a one size fits all for everybody, but I think it's looking at what makes you successful. What does that process look like? And then breaking it down and saying, okay, how can I utilize a tool that can help make this process simpler? I think there's a lot of things where if people knew the capabilities, they would absolutely take advantage of it. But I also feel like there's a flip side of that where there's so much capabilities, it's almost overwhelming.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you've got 25 conversations happening with AI with all these different projects that are out there. And now you've got to figure out, it's almost like you spread yourself too thin with too many projects happening.
That's a great point. I think that people who are unfamiliar with AI or want to get started but don't know where to start, they think that, well, everybody else is so much more advanced with it, or I've already missed the boat, or when I do start, I need to be having autonomous agents working on my behalf, replying to emails and updating my website. And it doesn't have to be like that. In fact, there are many, many experts with AI who likely aren't using all of its capabilities because it's so vast. So understand what Joe is saying is that just pick one or two tasks that are holding you up throughout your week and just start there. Because Joe, we know from experience that the more you use these tools, the more use cases you actually do discover.
Yeah, and I want to give an example of something that's outside of the LLM wheelhouse, which is what we talk a lot about is those LLMs and those chat platforms. But I want to take it a step outside of there of other AI capabilities. So an example would be is if you're an agent and you're utilizing, say, Excel or Google Sheets, and you're manually updating lead information and you're manually doing work, those are those friction points to look at is
Yeah.
what are you doing manually that maybe there's an AI tool out there to help you to where you're not doing it manually anymore. An example I'll give is we were working with an agent and they were keeping track of all of their client or all of their lead or prospect information in a spreadsheet. They were then taking that spreadsheet and feeding it into their email platform. Well, the fact is if you utilize AI, you can do an integration
Yeah.
that is taking that sheet and doing it for you.
Hmm.
And you're not having to handle any of it. And as soon as a new lead comes into that sheet, it's automatically going into your email marketing platform. So those are the type of things to think about as you're looking through the process. What are you doing manually that maybe you don't have to do? And there's probably a tool out there that can help you with that.
100%. One of the use cases that I have found most valuable that I think our audience would resonate with is deciphering between data and analytics. For those that aren't numbers people, but they want to understand what their social media data is telling them, or they want to understand what their email data is telling them. AI is a great tool to help you understand and extract information that can really help you make pivots and strategic changes that can move the needle for your business. Do you have a favorite use case
Well,
for AI?
yeah, absolutely. So a great example of that is if you take Google Analytics, which is tracking the user behavior across your website. So you're not looking at individual user behavior, but you're looking at overall user behavior of what pages are they going to, what entry page did they come into. You can pull some of those reports. Now, don't get me wrong, Google Analytics has insights built within the platform, but you can also pull those reports out and put them into an LLM that you use that connects other platforms and ask it to analyze that data.
Yeah.
Find traffic patterns, find bounce rates. If there's a page where you're seeing where they're going from the home page, they're going to the about page, and then they're bouncing back and going to this page, they're obviously looking for something. There's something missing. Utilize AI to help you see what it is that you're unable to find.
You also often recommend that people use AI to audit their website. And that's a really cool use case
Yes.
that usually took a whole team of people to understand and do and accomplish. But now you can do it in literal minutes. And that too has been really beneficial, especially for the AmeriLife Marketing Mentors, because we are a new team and we did just launch a website not that long ago. And so, whether it be this podcast or our website or the social media content that we put out, all of that is, the data telling us what we should be
Absolutely.
talking about. And so, these can be elements that you incorporate into your business as well.
When you talk about the website, a habit that we used to always see is when people create their websites, they say what they want to, what they want people to hear. And so we see that a lot where you have agents who immediately on their homepage is all about like, I can do this, I can do that. And realizing when AI gets in there and you ask it to do a scan of your website, it's going to point that out to you. And it's going to say, let's talk more about your client, less about, what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Let's talk about how you're helping your client. And then you just change those wordings around and the sentiment changes to where, and in some cases it's passive language where you need to be active. And so there's those type of things that can help you with. And then as you mentioned, you can also use it behind the scenes to help you do a SEO scan, understand what's happening with your website, see where you're slow. It's going to tell you all those things and you don't have to use a bunch of different tools to do it. It's one prompt.